Serious, Redditors who married someone significantly higher or lower in education level. How has it affected your relationship? Were there any unforeseen consequences? My GF has a master's, a PhD, and is an associate professor at a university. I don't have a bachelor's. She considers me to be the smart one in the relationship. To be sure, I have much better general knowledge and technical abilities, but dang, she's smart. There is one flaw she has, however. She uses Google Italy a lot for her research. To do this, she opens Chrome, types Google into the bar at the top. When google.com appears, she types Google Italy into the search field. Then she does her search. So maybe I am the smart one. I have kinda thought that people are smart in their own way. Academically, common sense, street smarts, etc. You spend X amount of time on this planet, so I guess you hone some set of skills that are appreciated by others. I am completing my second degree. My wife didn't finish high school. She is actually quite intelligent but was raised in a family where educating girls was seen as pointless. It becomes a problem when she plays damsel in distress for me to rescue her, which was how she was raised. I gently remind her of all she has achieved in her life without formal education. It's pretty good most of the time. I married a moron. I tried really hard to convince myself that she wasn't just a flaming idiot. It made things really difficult. We couldn't hold deep conversations. She wouldn't understand a concept, so I'd have to explain it to her. Then she'd argue with me about the crap she literally knew nothing about 15 minutes ago. She refused to believe in carbon dating. I'm divorced now. I barely graduated high school. My wife has a double major. I make 95% of the income and she raises our kids. I overcompensate by listening to non-fiction audiobooks at work all day. I have over 300 under my belt, but had to Google a few words in this post to make sure I spelled them right. My kids are super smart. They will know how to read and write better than me by the time they are 8. Marriage has its ups and downs but has lasted 10 years so far and seems to be on track for lasting another 18 at least, I hope. My wife is a doctor, MD, in her 3rd year of residency. I have a bachelor's degree that is basically an expensive paperweight. She's very driven and she has high expectations for me and my career. Not like I won't love you if you don't make a lot of money expectations, but we both know that I can do better than how I'm doing now and she pushes me to fulfill my potential. I believe in you, man. My husband has a PhD in computer science. I had an associate degree of nursing up until I completed my BSN last winter. It's never been a problem with us. I was a stay-at-home mom with a high school degree for a while and he was happy with that. However, when I expressed interest in school and he was a big supporter and was a big motivator for me, it taught me statistics when I just couldn't get it. I couldn't have done it without him. As far as day-to-day things, we just have different interests. He's highly intelligent and is all science, politics, etc, and I'm more of a people or TMZ kind of girl, or what I call useless knowledge things. But we listen to each other and have been married for 16 years now and going strong. I'm the one with more education. It's a little embarrassing because she's obviously so much smarter than I am. If she chose to do what I do, she would do it better. But she was smart enough to do something that made her happy instead. Only real consequence has been that the situation has led both of us to respect each other deeply. My parents worked that way. My mother finished college with a master's in finance while my dad dropped out to take care of my older brother while my mom went to college. My dad was clearly much smarter than my mom, but he dropped out so that she could become the first in her family to graduate college. I just started my PhD specializing in the privacy and security realm of software engineering computer science. My wife is in her 2nd year of taking night classes to get her BAA. I can honestly say that I haven't seen much in the way of negative consequences. She is extremely driven and ambitious, which is more than I can say about most of my peers. We still have very deep and meaningful conversations. I actually find that most of the people who are at the PhD level just want to sound smart and build their ego further. It is really nice to come home to someone who is real about things. Wouldn't change a thing. This is dead on. If you want to be bored, go to a PhD student mixer. Everyone gives their thesis elevator speech and then fills the time with what seem to be pre-scripted conversation pieces about intellectual topics extracted from NPR or The New Yorker. No real consequence. He's so much freaking smarter than I am, though. It's shameful. It's unreal how obscenely intelligent he is. I don't even know why he settled with me instead of someone up to his par. I may not be anywhere near as smart, but I know he loves me deeply. He might not value intelligence like you value it. That is, you're measuring the worth of a person and their corresponding sexual attractive value on intelligence. And maybe he doesn't see intelligence that way. I guess what I'm trying to say is maybe he wonders why the heck someone so hot would marry him. Maybe he thinks you're out of his league. I'm in the middle of my masters and my so got kicked out of college. Academic suspension. His first undergrad semester. So far, so good. We both work, share income and debts, etc. The missus has her masters in psychology and works as a clinical psych. I dropped out in year 11 and work as a laborer installing stone bench tops. Hasn't really affected us. She's not necessarily smarter than me, she's just much more educated. I am a high school dropout. My wife has her bachelor's in social work. Things work pretty great. She takes care of our son about 80% of the time while I'm at work. I make about 88% of the income. Intellectually we don't really notice any disparity. We are just average, boring, married people. I am a few weeks away from getting my PhD in a STEM field and my husband is a mechanic. He did go to a year of tech school after HS, but no associate's degree or anything. Our relationship is wonderful. He is incredibly intelligent, and not just in a common sense way, like most people assume. And our different types of knowledge complements each other. We are very similar in our drive to be the best in our fields and of course have lots of similarities otherwise. It doesn't really affect our relationship. BC we met my first semester of college, so he knew what my goals were and I his. The hardest part is that people have no concept of what a mechanic does, or think he should fix anything they broke, which he can, but that's not the point. Congrats on being so close to getting that PhD. My better half wasn't able to complete high school due to a leukemia diagnosis. She also has cognitive issue due to the chemotherapy. I have a lot of one bachelor's that indicates a double major of math and electrical engineering with a minor in physics and a master's degree in electrical engineering. I've yet to have any issues other than her forgetfulness, which we've sort of turned into a funny thing. It's like, me. Why did you leave the meat out? I left the meat out. Well, if you didn't like it then you could have just told me. Then I give her a big hug and we laugh about it. She's incredibly intelligent regardless of anything else and I love her more than life itself. Or, you guys sound great. I only ever finished high school. My wife had a PhD. It's a long story, but in the beginning we were fine. I supported her all the way through her various degrees right up until her doctorate by working to keep the both of us fed housed. She was only on a student income at the time. I figured that she had the smarts. And even though I was working in a dead-end job I hated, at least one of us was earning money, and I felt that she came first, as any husband should feel about their wife. I did feel as though her family looked down on me, as much as she told me they didn't. After she graduated we decided to expand our friendship sphere, i.e., we wanted more friends to hang out with, as a lot of our own had moved away and had kids. We both started going to meet up groups that aligned to our own interests. It was through that she met some English guy who had published some books on socioeconomics and worked as an advisor for some government housing project. I guess they hit it off because a few months later I inadvertently came across some of her emails she had been exchanging with him. And keeping with the theme of educational levels, there were some topics that academics would find enthralling, but also some not so much ahem. Long story short, because it is a long story, I confronted her. She left me. This was a while ago now, and the grapevine tells me they're getting married. Wife has a PhD in educational psychology and a master's in special education. She's dean of a college of arts and sciences, and she's foxy. I, on the other hand, am a fat, ugly, stupid actor with a get. We've been together almost 15 years, because I make her laugh. We didn't marry, but I spent 25 years of my life with a woman I met when we were 17. We had both finished school and were working UK, and the first few years were great. We had fun, went out, had a big group of friends, went on sun holidays, etc. In my mid-20s I decided to go back and complete my education. I was always a big reader. She never read anything other than gossip magazines. I ended up with a higher education qualification in English, started to write a lot and gradually began moving in different circles and enjoying all forms of culture, none of which interested her. Just to point out that I'm not blaming anyone here, only pointing out how these things can happen almost accidentally. We stayed together for a few more years, but our 17 years old shared interests simply weren't there any longer. We had a child together, and by the time she was 8 our different parenting styles and wishes were really apparent. I wanted to get her the best possible education, took her to galleries and the theater, and generally had a clear vision of how I wanted her to grow up, but I didn't feel her mother shared the same aspirations. This difference finally drove us apart, and I left with a solid promise to myself that I would continue to play as much a part in my daughter's life as I could have done had I stayed living with them. I only moved a couple of miles away and did exactly that. We developed a very special father-daughter relationship. We continued cultural pursuits, particularly the theater, discussed books, and went on many holidays, including a long road trip around Europe visiting Paris and Barcelona. She's 18 now and has just started university studying for a degree in English literature. I am incredibly proud of her. I firmly believe, in fact I know, that splitting with her mother has helped in her development. Is she single? I have one, soon to be two, masters. My husband never went to school, was raised shittily overseas, in a terrible situation. As I finish my thesis, sometimes I feel like he can be a bit unyielding in acknowledging that grad school is hard. He's successful in his field and quite smart, where I am more capable in navigating bureaucracy and playing the game. So I can't share all of my academic woes with him, but that's true of any disconnect. He's been supportive in his own ways, and I'm grateful. Otherwise, we earn similarly, and I expect to get a full-time job after graduation and let him dial back a bit and screw around, house husband style. My wife is a doctor while I failed out of sophomore year of college. It doesn't really impact our lives much, though occasionally she'll ask me a really stupid question and I just respond with, "How are you a doctor?" A true story. She once called me to ask me what is 8 plus 3. I responded, "You called me on your cell phone. Use the calculator app. Also, how are you a doctor? Also 11 inches. That last bit sounded like an Archer phone call. My husband is technically smarter than me, but when it comes to education level, well, he left school in the 4th grade. His mom began homeschooling him for 1 year but never turned anything in, and after the 4th grade just stopped. Our first year together he went back and got his GED, which I am incredibly proud of him for, but before that it was so hard when we had to do paperwork. He got turned down from job after job. We were struggling. Even now he's not shy about telling people, and it has hurt us. It's hard, but I know he's not stupid at all. Heck, he's my tutor for my physics classes, and he spends his free time building computers. But people judge him because of his education level, not by his intelligence. I am in my 2nd year of law school. My husband is a community college dropout. We can't discuss politics because 3 sentences into the conversation I want to smack him. But in everything else we are pretty even. He can fix a car with little to no mental effort. I am the computer and paperwork person in our relationship. He's really pretty, solid 11. I am a 7. Our kids are both super intelligent, though one has behavioral issues. They both have been fast-tracked for gifted educational programs. Our 5-year-old is reading and doing math. Our 2-year-old is reading small words and can count to almost 50. So he has a hard time thinking what homework is going to be like in the near future, and if I cook, he cleans. We keep it pretty even for the most part, and it works well. I have come to accept that I will never be able to discuss political things, and he has come to accept I will never understand cars or mechanical things. But we both laugh at fart jokes. It probably doesn't help that law school teaches you to understand issues from every angle and, in my experience, drains you of any passion regarding most political topics. I find it hard to talk politics with anyone at this point. Together for 31 years, married for 26. My wife barely scraped through high school. I have a grad degree in engineering and undergrads in Comp Sci and engineering and work in applied research. She's practical. I'm a space cadet. It's zero issue for us. Our lifestyles and interests are very close. I don't really give a crap that she has no idea what a Fourier transform is or the cool things you can do with them. It was a little different with our 2 kids. I was harder about pushing the importance of an advanced degree than my wife. We completely funded their rights. It all worked out. My mom never graduated high school. My dad has his master's degree in mechanics. My mom has been working at the same place, locksmith gift store, since she was 16, and when it came time for the owner to retire, she bought a shop at the age of 35. A few months and she needed help 1 day a week, so my dad asked his boss if he could have the 1 day off. Boss said no, so he quit on the spot and became a locksmith with my mom. 12 years later they are one of the most successful locksmith shops in town. I have a degree in computer science and a passion for physics and engineering, working as a software engineer. My fiancée is working on her childcare certification in a traineeship, so there's definitely a big gap in education level. She has dyslexia, so she really struggles with reading, writing and maths. This of course made school really hard for her and makes her TAFE work quite difficult. But if you actually get her in a scenario where her dyslexia isn't holding her back, she's quite intelligent. She learns processes quickly and has decent problem solving skills. She just doesn't have the ability to perform in an academic setting, so she doesn't have the knowledge. There's only really 3 ways it's affected our relationship. 1. She has self-confidence issues after being called an idiot through all of high school. It's kinda sad, so it just means I'm extra careful with what I say to her and try to boost her confidence when I can. 2. Either me or her mum proofread and help with her TAFE work. No big deal though. 3. I earn way more than her. Also doesn't matter to me. TL. DR. Fiancé is uneducated and dyslexic. Still gonna marry her. You are doing exactly the right thing as a fiancé. I'm certain she appreciates everything you do. My husband and I have a disparity. He has an associate's. I am almost done with my master's. We only really have 2 points of contention. He could be making more money than he is now if he had finished out the bachelor's, and he is ashamed of his lack of education because he sees it as a failure. He has been pitifully chipping away at the same degree for 11 years and he still has almost a year to go because he has dropped out of or failed so many classes. I don't see it as a failure, though it would be nice if he was bringing in that extra dough. However, he is currently supporting me while I full-time study, and even after I graduate, he'll still make more money than me since he has 10+ years more experience in his field than I will mine. To be a fair and supportive spouse, I have no problems being the full-time worker if he ever decides he wants to go back and finish his bachelor's out. I would be proud of him if he did, and I know it would be a weight off his mind. I am currently completing a PhD and have a bachelor and 2 master's degrees under my belt, microbiology and epidemiology. My boyfriend of 2 years works as a mover and handyman with some years of college under his belt, and I love him dearly. As others have mentioned, we are both intelligent people, but we just pursue different careers. He loves what he does, and I love what I do. It's also great to learn how to be more handy and hands-on, as I couldn't repair anything around the house if my life depended on it. I didn't marry one, but sure have dated a few. I have a master's degree and I'm a teacher. I'm no astrophysicist, but yes, I'm educated. I dated a carpenter for 2 years, who was quite smart in terms of recent world history, only 20th century and solving problems, but very uncultured. Sweetest guy though, and totally good at heart. I also dated a farmer, who was a high school dropout and was quite low in the academic department, but was incredibly hardworking and had amazing practical knowledge. I'm a bookworm creative social type, but I learned a crap load about how to think from these 2 guys. My wife earned her master's in social work at age 24. I'm a CVICU nurse, only an associate's degree under my belt. Like many of the answers here, my wife is definitely smarter than I am when it comes to social work. Critical care is my thing. I'm sure I outdo my wife in that field. In general though, there isn't a huge intellectual disparity. The wife is an MD, practicing trauma surgeon, has 2 master's degrees and 2 bachelors. I muddled my way through a few years of JC and haven't worked in nearly 8 years. It's quite excellent. People who have a lot of demands on them need that support character in their life. That's me for her. I do all the stuff that she can't. She makes the money. We've gotten crap from traditional family types about how I should contribute to the family. Every time my argument is the same. If I were a woman, would there be any issue with the arrangement? And thus far, that shuts them up. My wife has the potential to make at least 10 times what I could, and loves her job. Why is it wrong simply because the gender role is reversed? The answer is yes to all the questions. I am a great cook when I cook. I do all the laundry. I clean the house. I am the main caretaker of our only child. I have coffee ready in the morning, make sure she always had gas in the car, and take care of all the finances. My wife mocked me because I believed in dinosaurs. She said those bones were fakes buried by Jesus to test our faith. She's no longer my wife. My wife is a neuroscientist and I'm a salesman for refurbished vacuums that barely work. Well, sort of a salesman. I don't really even get to actually sell the vacuum to the customer. I only get to tell them what it does. It actually kinda sucks. I have a master's degree. My husband is a trade school dropout. I never think of his education. It doesn't affect us at all. He's done pretty well for himself. He actually makes about 10k more a year. He's actually very smart. I genuinely believe he's smarter than me. My fiance sells cell phones, and he didn't go to college. He makes twice what I do. I am a licensed plumber, certified to install gas tight, a professional tile layer, a pharmacy technician, and a head chef with a bachelor's in business administration with a focus in hospitality. People do judge me by picking on me, saying I picked a dumb one that didn't even go to college. Well, look at me. I went to college and am in debt because of it and pulling $38k a year. Woo fricking who. He makes $60k in a bad year and all he does is sit at a desk and wait for someone to walk up and say, hey, I want to buy something. Just a minor point of contention. On average in these posts, there are more educated women dating married to men of lower education levels and being content with it. I see significantly less of the inverse, let alone those that ended well. I'm a doctor. My boyfriend is a hairdresser. We've been together for 8 years now, and met when I was still a student. I've got 2 degrees, and he left school at 16 with a few GCSEs. I can't say it's ever been an issue between us, but I think people are a bit surprised and don't always know what to say on introductions, especially when introducing him to other doctors. Although on paper I'm more educated, he's been working and training in his field since he left school, so is very skilled for his age, 28. If anything, I think our different backgrounds work well together. I could never be with another medic and be in that bubble. I think having different backgrounds actually increases the variety of people and the circles that we mix in. I know there have been a few people, doctors, my dad, who have looked down on him because they see him as just a hairdresser, and that really pisses me off. In fact, even though I'm a doctor and have been qualified for a couple of years now, he earns more than me. He's just taken on a very senior international role, teaching in hairdressing academies across the world. And as things are going with junior doctors and the NHS in the UK, it looks like I'm about to get a pay cut, so he'll be earning way more than me. So just because there's a difference on paper, doesn't mean there's a difference in skill or potential. I once dated a primary school teacher and she eventually broke up with me because she didn't consider me to be smart enough for her. Now I'm with an architect and she thinks I'm significantly smarter than her. I have a college degree, but both those women have master's degrees, plus other significant certifications. I've also dated a doctor and a cop. Those women also thought I was rather intelligent. Really, I think they just admired my intense interest in history. I don't know if education levels can really be a predictor for compatibility of any kind at all. Wife is a doctor. I drive a taxi. It hasn't really affected anything, other than that she obviously pays for more than me. We have a joint account that we put a percentage of our paychecks in and pay for everything. She's book smart. I'm street smart. As in I know the names of many streets. His first language is not English while mine is. He counts, thinks, dreams in his first language. His advanced English vocabulary is limited and he will sometimes use big words incorrectly. I think it's cute and will correct him and he will use it correctly the next time. I like that my expanded vocab is rubbing off on him. He has started using bigger words that are everyday and not a big deal for me. For example, I use the word depict often and he started saying it. He is intelligent in specific areas, whereas my liberal arts education and experience as a political reporter has provided me broad knowledge of the world and an ability to be a critical thinker. He has little knowledge of history, science, math, and I find that it impedes one area of our relationship: humor. He's slow to get my geeky jokes, wit and puns because he doesn't know the words. That's the only part of relationship that I wish was stronger, but I have friends that keep me laughing all the time. I acknowledged this aspect very early in our relationship and it's something that I am willing to accept. He's emotionally intelligent, extremely in tune with the male-female relationship dynamic, and he has exceeded my expectations in the relationship. About the humor, he eventually recognized a deficit. We were on vacation and at times I would be on social media laughing at stuff. He cried at dinner saying, "I can't make you laugh the way your friends do." It was the sweetest thing. It showed me that he's 1. A bit insecure and 2. Cares about making me happy. It is what it is. I don't need to be entertained by my significant other. We understand each other on a deep level. He really gets who I am and vice versa. At the end of the day, the unspoken action is love. The action is what our relationship is built upon. We need few words to show and experience love. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.